Hey, what's up, guys? It's Showtime with Showtime Shred Fitness over here. Size, growth, get big. All right. So, I'm seeing a lot of crazy shit on Facebook. And I'm trying to stay out of it, but I think it ruffled a couple of feathers, right? And when there are people that are just acquaintances or really don't know them or whatever, I shrug that off, right? But like when it's close family or really tight friends, right? And they get so emotional that that they're willing to, break all ties with you. You should really rethink and reevaluate before you really cut those ties, before you take it too personally, because what I'm seeing happen with a lot of people on both sides of the wall, right? Whether they're like freaking Biden or Trump, right? They both got some positives and negatives to them. Every president does. Some have more positives than negatives, some have more negatives than positives, vice versa. And a lot of times you're not even really going to know until you're in there. And the problem is, this is something that a lot of people just don't realize. There's so much information that we're getting on both sides are exaggerations. They're taken out of context, photoshopped, flat out lies sometimes. It happens on both sides. So what we're doing, if you got similar values to your buddy or your family member, right? You want to provide for your family, work hard, live a life that's honest and reputable, with proper values, family values, all these types of things. And I'm not saying you're a bad person if you don't have these traits, but I'm saying there's a lot on both sides that have these identical traits and goals and everything else. And to make good money to support the family, but to do it legally, morally, and ethically, right? So you're saying now, because you don't vote for the same president, that you don't share the same values. And so my point to you is, look deep inside and why that person's voting, okay? And listen. And they could be way off base, right? Because you have one person that has these set of ideas that they're convinced that this is proof, and maybe it's proof and maybe it's not, okay? It could be straight up bullshit. And the same thing with the other side. It could be truth, could be false, could be a bunch of bullshit, and it could be a mixture of both, right? And so basically, when you got dishonest people throwing out, whether it be the media or their opponents or whatever, to rile the other party up, to rile the party up and make them be against that candidate, you're going to have people who have different beliefs, but both sides think that they're right. Fair enough? And they're doing it, if they have those types of good values, they're picking who they think is the best choice. It's not because they're disrespecting you as a person. How can you take that personally? Especially because, so say certain things to say about Trump. That's bad, it's true, or false. Okay, the person that thinks it's true is going to be pissed off, and the person that thinks things that could be bad or false, right? And so they call the other person an idiot, uneducated, this and that and the other thing. That's different than sharing the same moral values, right? And to put a spin on things so that it wakes you up and puts you in check, okay? Remember what the other side is accused of, horrible things, much worse than what Trump is being accused of. And of course, that side saying none of it's true, and they believe, right? Especially the honest, hard-working ones, good values, they believe that all that really is false. And this other group that's got really good values and morals and all these really believe it's true. The other side believes it's false. But for some reason, this side that thinks that the Democrats have done all these things, whether it be true or not, don't get mad and defriend and judge. It might happen. I haven't seen it happen yet. In my experience, all through being a Democrat for a couple of decades, my Republican friends never judged me. They'd ask why I believed what I believed, voted for, right? And then they would tell their viewpoint. And sometimes we both agree on some things and disagree on others, and that's fine, you know. But then, if it's a Democrat, right? And even though I'm independent, I'm not Democrat or Republican anymore, right? Because I'm not really trusting either side right now. But now, because I don't agree with the Democrats, all of a sudden, they're not my friend anymore. Yeah, I'm the fucking bad guy. I'm automatically a racist and a bigot and all these other types of things because supposedly that's what Trump is. To put things in perspective for you guys, freaking worked with people with disabilities for I don't know how many decades, 2, 3, and I was also in the military, so, you know, based off the research I've done, you know, there's a lot of contradictory things. Democrats say that he called the military a bunch of losers, this and that thing. I'm probably not going to stand by a guy who says those types of things, right? But if it's taken out of context or it's freaking completely fabricated, messed up, he's done so much for veterans where they weren't getting the things and he didn't even publicize what he did. And he would have veterans call him the White House and they would fly him out, get them the benefits and shit like that. I mean, it was a big deal. And nobody knows about that. And they were using old parts. It was dangerous using these fighter jets, and they put brand new parts in there. So that contradicts what the Democrats say that he said. If he did say that, his actions are completely different than his verbiage. And feel free to send me footage and stuff of it. I have no problem with that. Somebody posted a picture of him making fun of a reporter who was disabled, and that was a lie and it was a bullshit. And so now, if the reporter had a disability or not, I don't know, because the picture of the reporter was not a reporter at all. So it was bullshit, and it made him look really, really fucking horrible, really bad. Supposedly, it was just a normal guy, a normal reporter, and he was supposedly kind of being a jackass with his questions, and he made a gesture like, shut the fuck up type of thing, you know, like a moron, right? And then, of course, they photoshopped that thing and threw it out there. Now, maybe he did have a disability, but if that's the case, don't put somebody else's picture there, because now it just looks false. And if sometimes you can't tell, right, if people have a disability or not. They're very sharp, and they're really smart, and they're really good people, and, you know, you can't tell at all, and unless you really get to know them and you find out, because they tell you, or they might have little tells, or whatever, right? And so it doesn't freaking matter to me either way. But there's sometimes people that will know that somebody's got a disability, they may treat them a little differently than they would have if they'd have known, right? A big example of that is Rich Piana. This guy was mouthing off, and he knew better, you know, but he was disabled, and he didn't. He said some things that were really crossing the line. He just didn't know how far he had crossed the line. But he had been threatening Rich Piana. And he was kind of okay with that. But then he was threatening his wife's life and stuff. And so he was He was on God, right? And so he would even kind of make it like it was coming from multiple people. And so Rich Piana thought this guy was a normal guy. And so when the guy comes to his booth, he slapboxed with him, and then he kind of found out through the thing that he was going to teach him a lesson that he's like, oh shoot, you kind of tell he's like, I think there might be something, this guy might actually be all right. And then he found out that he had a disability, and they felt horrible and apologized and trained with the guy. So there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we don't know. And if it just comes down to somebody voting for somebody or being in a political party because they believe the ideals that they either stand for or pretend to stand for, right? And they're backing them for the right reasons, but they're being deceived. And that's not a bad person, okay? That's not a betrayal of friendship or honor or anything else. It's just like, especially with people that are friends and family of mine, it's like, none of my family's voting for Trump anyways. So if I vote for Trump or Biden or don't vote at all, in Washington being a blue state, the fuck do you care who I vote for? You know? And I'm probably going to vote Trump still. But, you know, and the only reason I wouldn't is to not hurt people's feelings, and that's not the right reason to not vote. Because I continue to ask questions, research, and things like that, and I haven't been given enough solid evidence. Every time there's an accusation, there's something that's flipped, and it completely makes it null and void, the accusations, right? And so, you know, I've jumped on things before, even against Trump, you know, when I know better, because misinterpreting things, getting false news and all this stuff, and then finding out it was false, like, dadgummit, you know, then I feel stupid, and I apologize, right? And so it, you know, you can do whatever you want, but, you know, you shouldn't be pointing fingers at somebody when you got three pointed back at you, right? Because there's all kinds of accusations and even proof, okay? Because Tom, my Italian buddy, he went to the freaking library, looked it up, found out it was true. There's been documentaries on some of this stuff, and Democrats will flat out deny it. And it's hard to disprove things that are, you know, actually documented. But just because it's documented doesn't always mean it's true either, right? So I can't sit here and, I mean, I can, right? Because that's what people are doing to me. But, you know, I'm convinced that some of this stuff, if not all of it, did happen, right? And that's why I don't want to have anything to do with the Democratic Party right now until I've been, you know, until they can prove otherwise that it is false. And then maybe I'll look at, you know, the Democratic platform and everything again, and the Republican platform again, and make a decision. But I'll tell you why right now. As long as you guys stay judgmental to me for no reason, or for a reason I could be judgmental back, then I'm not going to do that. But as long as you guys are going to judge me and make me feel bad about my, you know, my constitutional right to vote for who I want to vote for, then I have no desire to be any kind of part of your party, right? And I've been recruited to help out with politics in Democrats. There was a guy that was kind of high up in the local political system and stuff, because he was a perfect Democrat. He contributed. He helps veterans. He's all kinds of things that he donates lots of money to veterans, to corporations, to poor people. I mean, he's done a lot for the community, and he's the perfect example of what a Democrat should be, or a Republican, right? It's about doing the right thing, and putting a label on somebody, and this is the right and this is the wrong. That's where we're going wrong as a country. We got to work together as a team, or we're going to be in big trouble. You're seeing it every day. It's getting worse and worse. More chaotic, more riots, more protests, more fighting, more hatred against police, and it's great to have hatred towards punks with badges, but we need good co-ops. We need good police officers, and defunding them is. I worked in prison. The first ones to get ready to march as soon as they were going to bring down even a little bit the salary. Fuck, I'll be out of here. I'll go flip burgers if I have to. I ain't gonna fucking do this shit. And the only ones that talk like that were the best ones. The ones that didn't bring in shit for the inmates. The ones that didn't bully inmates around. The ones that were fair and consistent and did their job according to policy and could articulate and justify everything they did. Right? Treated people the way they be treated. Treated inmates the way they should be treated, like people. Right? These are the guys that wanted to march for defunding. So what does that mean? These guys that are smuggling stuff in for the inmates are making extra money, so they're going to make it up that way, right? So you're gonna continue to get more of these punks with badges in, right? And running off the ones that you want to keep. And if I wasn't law enforcement, I wouldn't know these things, right? And things get really slanted. And there are so many injustices out there. Don't even get me wrong on that. That's definitely a problem, and but it's not as rampant as they make it, sound, and they make it sound like most police officers like that, and it's just not true. Most police officers are very good people, and even some of the ones that come off as racist are just flat out bad people. Some of them are racist, and some of them are just bad people that just they shouldn't be having a badge at all. Whether they're racist or not, because they're bullies just against, some of them are against a certain race, bullies, and some and racist, and some of them, these punks with badges, or people who just are mean to people. They got a power trip and they want to make people's lives hell, plant evidence on them, beat them up unnecessarily, shoot people in the back because they're running away, those types of things. Unjustified, unarticulated. You can't articulate or justify that. But we'll come on with a statement like that too. And Democrats will try to rip me a new one on that too, saying I'm a racist supporter and all this other stuff. It's like, I'm on your side, I want to protect the people, but I won't even be a police officer now because, I don't want to go put my life on the line and then be yelled at for it, right? I get enough of that in my marriage. For the time I wake up, the time I go to bed. Talked about, I'm always being yelled at for being a bad husband, bad father, and a poor person, and all this stuff, so I'm not appreciated at home at all. Well, I want a job like that too. That's why I go to work, so I can get out of the house and have a stress reliever. That's why I love to go to prison. So it really annoys me that I have to be, sensitive to, and I don't mind being sensitive to other people's feelings and opinions and political viewpoints and religion. I think that's important. I think that we should embrace that. But the problem is when you embrace it and then they fucking make you out to be the fucking asshole, it's very irritating, if you're not with me, you're against me, and you're all these horrible things and all this. It's like, because I'm not going to vote for the same president that you're going to vote for, that makes me a bad guy. I have my reasons, and they might be they might be based off of bad information, but so far I don't think so. I continue to research. I continue to listen to people, to hear people out. But instead of, when I say educate me, it's either fuck you, well, that's not going to help me learn anything, or they'll be like, yeah, you're just an idiot. You just pay attention to fucking CNN News once in a while, or ves la universidad cabrón, o telemundo, educate. And that's the worst form of education there is. That's where all these lies and exaggerations are coming from, right? Even with Fox News, they're anti-democrat. So it's not bad. It's not fact-based at all. It's just going to destroy the other party. And our political system teaches us to do that, and then we are not smart enough to realize that we're all being manipulated into supporting their cause, which, if it's based off of solid, good facts and good people and good reasons, great. But both sides have some shady shit going on sometimes, and so it's hard to know who the good guys and the bad guys are. But I've seen so many mean Democrats and so many nice Republicans, whether I'm a Democrat or Republican or independent. It's always been the same thing. Democrats are only buddy with you as long as you're a Democrat, and then as soon as you're not. And I'm not talking about all Democrats, because there's some really good ones out there. But I've run into a lot more asshole Democrats than asshole Republicans. So keep that in mind a little bit with your judgmental crap. And I get that sometimes people on the Republican side, if they're too much of the Boston Tea Party, and get too carried away there to extremists, and that's a big, huge problem too. And they get pretty judgy and can be kind of assholes too. Some of them, I emphasize some of them because some of them are pretty devoted in their faith and everything else, but very non-judgmental too. So you can't put everybody in a box. I don't put all Democrats in a box, but what I have noticed that, at least recently, is that especially Democrats, very, very liberal Democrats, they can be really, really, really mean, and then it's almost for no reason. It's just kind of like a lot of them feel like entitled to all kinds of stuff, and then they think that everybody else is wrong and they're right, and it's okay to think that, but then articulate and justify why you think that, and give the other person the chance to present their side of the story and call it good. And I've heard a lot of people that are Democrats go, my body, my choice. Okay, I'm cool with that, right? But then if I do something and they don't agree with it, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that, and fucking jump my ass. It's like, whatever, my body, my choice. Your body, your choice, but my body, not my choice. What the fuck's up with that, right? So I get irritated with that kind of garbage as well. It's like some people feel like they do whatever the fuck they want, and any little thing that anybody else does, they're pointing the finger. Wait a minute, So that's where I get irritated. Is people that are judgmental, that have all kinds of demons or skeletons in the closet, and then some of them aren't even bad people. They just get real judgmental, and over a political viewpoint. And I just don't get that. Other than maybe the emotions are too high and they're not thinking logically on this person really believes that this person is, instead of the truth, okay, this person really believes that this guy's not racist, this guy's not a bad guy, this guy's not anti-military, things like that, right? There should be some more understanding there. But sometimes people's minds are finite and they can't see past the mirror. They see their own points of view and that's it. I like to look at the scope of everything around me and listen to everybody else's viewpoints. And sometimes I sound like an asshole, and that's probably why I get fired off. People get fired up and attack me, because sometimes I'll play around, but I'll do it in an entertaining and intense way. Just gotta play with people's viewpoints and stuff to try to stir the plot a little bit and get some things going. But sometimes they don't know that that's my intentions behind it, and sometimes they think I'm mean, and so then sometimes that's why they'll attack me personally. Even though I'm not attacking anybody personally, I'm just playing around, just trying to get a reaction out of people so that we can start a friendly debate, and it ends up not being friendly at all. And then I yell at my wife, "You can't talk to girls like that." So she called me a bunch of names. You can't get mad at me for doing, Tony Soprano quotes. Well, I don't know, they're Tony Soprano quotes, and you just look like an abusive, like a guy that's abusive to women. And that's why I'm an abusive man to women. That's why he lets you punch me in the face every day, because I'm the abuser. So again, I get annoyed with some of that stuff, where it's like everything I do is wrong. I can't do anything right, but then everything else that anybody else wants to do, it's okay. And even if they screw up, I should understand, right? And I do, but then when I deserve a break, I don't fucking get one. I do something a quarter or a half as bad, and I'm a fucking doghouse, right? I'm a fucking bad guy. So that's frustrating, but it's life, right? And so it's all good. But I just wanted to bring that out. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, don't jump the gun and hate on people just because they have a viewpoint. Listen to the reasons why they feel the way they feel and believe the way they believe, whether they're Democrat or a liberal or a Republican or an independent, Trump supporter, Biden supporter. Don't automatically, think that person's a horrible person, and just because they have a reason why they're going to vote for somebody. Listen to the reason, right? And then sometimes they'll let a ding ding ding, like, oh, I like this person for this, this, and this. Oh, well, that's not really true. Did you know this, this, and this? And then maybe their eyes go like this, right? So sometimes people just don't know better, right? They're going off of this. Most people that claim they're educated aren't educated at all. They're getting all their information off of news. A lot of Republicans get their info off of Fox News, and a lot of the Democrats get their information off of CNN and consider themselves completely educated on both sides of the ball. They didn't look at the other side of things. So, until you're ready to really research both sides, and talk to both parties, supporters of both parties, don't just talk to people within your own circle, I try to talk to people outside of my circle. Unfortunately, I get yelled at all the time. It's like I don't want to freaking, try to empathize with them anymore, because they just get mad, and then they don't even give you a reason other than you're wrong and you're a bad person because you're wrong. Why am I wrong? And educate me on why you think I'm wrong, and maybe you are right, and I can fucking do some more research and, not just believe you right off the bat, but I'll take it into consideration if it sounds logical, and I'll give it a shot, but it is what it is. Some people are very closed-minded, and they just don't want to work with you. It's like you're either for me or against me. Are you my friend or not? Well, that's not the way it works. It shouldn't work that way anyways. But more power to you. You got the right to be friends with who you don't want to be friends with. But if you want to sever the ties as a friend or a family member or whatever else, don't make the person feel guilty. Just be like, hey, this ain't working. We don't see eye to eye. It's cool. But, if you don't want to hang around that person because you think it brings you down or you feel a bit betrayed or whatever, okay, then just cut the ties and call her good, but don't freaking, try to make the person feel like a bad guy or a bad gal just because they don't fucking agree with you. It's just fucking stupid. Yeah. Wait till people see that, and they can really get fired up, and really pissed off at me. But I'm to the point where I don't really care anymore, right? Because I've got people that are giving me my corner no matter what, and I've got people that are going to be flaky. So, I don't need flaky people in my life. I got enough on my plate as it is. So that's all I gotta say. 30 minutes worth. All right, this has been Showtime with Showtime Shredded Fitness over here. Size, growth, get big. All right.